Hello and welcome to my Solasta Crown of the Magister Cleric Class Guide, levels 1 to 5. I'm your host, Methfu. This guide manages to help you out even a tiny little bit. Please smash that like button, it'll be greatly appreciated. Alright, let's go. Okay, so we're going to make a new Cleric. So we're in the Ancestry tab, and out of the races here, the two choices that really scream out to me are Hill Dwarf and Snow Dwarf, and also the Sylvan Elf. For the basis of this guide, I'm going to keep it short and sweet. I'm just going to Sylvan Elf. So this has got 2 decks. We are going Dex Cleric as well, just to put it out there. Saving throw advantage against Charm, immunity to magical sleep, which is very, very good to have. Dark Vision, see normally in dim light, and in natural darkness as if in dim light. This is extremely, extremely strong. Darkness in this game is real terror. It will mess you up. It will give you disadvantages. So anything that can negate those disadvantages is perfect. Keen sense is proficient in the perception skill. Yeah, it's cool to have. Trance, 4 hours meditation is sufficient to rest. Yeah, I'm okay with that. Now the lineage features. So we get 7 movement, which is very nice. If we need to get someone to heal someone up or get someone up off their feet, which the cleric will be doing quite a lot, because it's pretty much like a combat medic with a bit of melee front end, a bit of range, a bit of spells. So we need him to have good movement to be able to get to people and get them up again. Because a lot of the healing spells at the beginning of the game especially are on touch, they're not ranged. We also get ability score increase of wisdom +1. So because we're a dex cleric, wisdom and dex are our main scores, or ability scores we want to increase. Elf weapon training, proficient with longsword, short bow, longbow. So the longbow is very useful for us. We'll be using that quite a lot during the game if we don't have a crossbow. So we can either use crossbow or longbow to get the 1d8 damage on our attack rolls. But for melee weapon, we're going to look to get a rapier and a shield, because that does the most damage out of most of the weapons we got. For finesse, because we are going dex build, we can't use a longsword, so we have to use a rapier. Sylvan adaptability, proficient in the survival and athletics skills. As I said, athletics is very good to have. A lot of the time you will be jumping places, climbing places, and having strength. Athletics is decent to have at least. Advantage on survival when hunting, not bad. Languages, common, elvish, dwarfish, and halfling. So once again, sort out your languages between your characters, make sure you don't overlap, make sure you're not going crazy on all the same thing, and you're good to go. So on the next page, we're going to pick Cleric for the basis of this guide, because it makes more sense than picking anything else. We're going to edit equipment. So here, we're going to pick Scale Mail and or Leather. So at the beginning of the game, it's good to have the Scale Mail just for the extra mitigation until you get your dex up to max level. Then later on, you can switch to Leather once you get the armor class a bit higher up there. But at the moment, keep the scale mail until your dex is higher and don't change anything else and validate. So we now get to select a deity, but unlike the paladin guide that I did previously, in this one, the deity actually makes a difference into what subclass you become as a cleric or what divine domain you are. So I'm not going to go through every one of them, because as you can see, there's a lot to go through and I have not tested them all out extensively, but I will pick one of the strongest ones, which is Battle Cleric. The battle domain grants powerful combat spells. Its clerics can deal damage as well as providing frontline healing. So the thing that makes this one so good is, I'll just go through it really quickly. So battle domain spells, we get Magic Missile, which can't miss. Shield of Faith, not too bad. Acid Arrow is okay. Flaming Spear is pretty damn good. Fireball, insane. Haste is insane. Stone Skins, yeah, it's okay. Phantasmal Kill is pretty damn good itself. Hold Monster's nice. Insect Plague's okay. And we get a bonus proficiency to martial weapons, which allows us to use the rapiers, because without this we're not allowed to use the rapiers for our finesse build, and rapiers is the highest damage we can get, because a short sword is only 1d6 whereas rapier is 1d8. So for us, getting this is very crucial to the build, just because we need to have that dex weapon and have a higher damage dex weapon, so otherwise we'll end up just being a bit mediocre in melee. So these are just some of the things that make this class or this deity or divine domain very powerful. Then in the higher levels it becomes even goddamn stronger. So level 2, Decipher Strike. So on a successful attack, channel divinity to add 1d6 to your damage and stun your target save negates. So this is very strong. As you can see, you can stun something to take it out of combat for 1 turn. Increases by 1d6 every 3 levels above level 2. Very, very strong. Then at level 6, we get Herald or Battle. Allies in adjacent cells gain 1+ on attack rolls. Damage, AC, and saving throws. This is insane. Really, really insane. Especially if you got like 2 more people in melee of you. Like if you've got a rogue or a paladin or like something just up there, or ranger even, just up in melee of you, and you're all next to each other. This is insane. You're buffing them so much just with this. You're getting 1+ and all this stuff. May not look like much on paper, but it is a lot. A hell of a lot. Now we're getting to the icing on the cleric cake, which is Scholar of Battle. You can attack one more time per combat turn when you use the attack or shove actions. A lot of clerics don't get access to this because this is crazy. Makes this subclass insanely overpowered. So next we go to background. So in the background we chose Acolyte. The reason for this is because we get proficient in religion, nature and insight, which all help out with the cleric because he's wisdom based. Also Dex obviously because I'm going Dex cleric. Then proficient with the herbalism's kit. This is the main reason we're taking this for potion making. Potion's actually pretty decent to make in this game. It's worth taking everyone with at least one of the crafts, at least, because otherwise you'll be missing out on a lot of stuff that the game has to offer you and utility as well. Additional languages, we're not really that fussed about that, but choose one additional language. As I said before, do not overlap too much if you can avoid it. These don't matter, this is flavor, like this is just for role-playing purposes and how you want your character to be during the game for personality-wise. So we're just going to slam it in anywhere. Go to next. So we're at the interesting part. So here, I'm going to go for point buy. I play on CATACLYSM 10, the hardest difficulty, and just to get a challenge out of it, I make sure I don't make really overpowered characters and stuff. The dice rolls are really underpowered characters because obviously you can get this pretty high if you just keep trying to get 17s and things and stuff, which is very nice. You can do that if you want to. It depends how you want to play. You play how you want to play, but I normally go point buy. Right, so I'm going to show you two stat spreads depending on what your preference is. So I'm going to show you the first one, which is Dex 17, con to 15. We're going to take wisdom all the way up to 16, and that's literally it. So we've got 3 dump stats. So we've got strength, we've got intellect, and we've got charisma. The reason why you do this is because at level 4, you can take an ability point. So you can get 1 in dex, 1 in con to bring that up to 18, bringing that up to 16. So you actually benefit from the hit die. At the moment, at 15, there's no difference between 15 con and 14 con in this game. There's literally no difference. But once you go to the even number, which is 16 or 18, that's when you start getting more hit points. So if we got level 4, we'd put 1 in there, 1 in there. But yeah, eventually when you level up more, you get up to 20 as your main stat because you are a battle cleric. You're going to be either in the thick of melee or you're going to be shooting from range or a longbow, depending on your preference. Right, and the other stat spread I wanted to show you is more of a balanced stat spread, a bit more simplistic at its core. So we're literally going to go 16 dex, 14 con, 10 intellect. We're going to bring the wisdom up to 16 and we're going to put 2 points in strength, so nothing's in the minus apart from charisma. Charisma is a universal dump stat. You pretty much only need to have that on like classes that actually require it, like sorcerers and obviously paladins. But otherwise, or if you're making face characters, obviously you want people to be the party face, you can do it then. But most of the time, charisma is going to be your dump stat. So as you can see, this is a lot more balanced ability score spread to use. So we got strength with no minuses now. That means we can jump around more in combat. We can climb stuff better. Athletics is very nice to have, as I said before in previous guides. Dex at 16, so eventually once we get the more ability modifiers, we can point that up to 20, so we got the max. Con at 14, we've got respectable hit points for being melee if we have to, or if we need to or want to. Then we've got intellect at 10, it gives us more saving throws, and then wisdom is our spells, so we need that. Okay, over in proficiencies, we got 2 class skills to pick from, so we're going to take medicine and we're going to take history. The reason why we took this is because we didn't really have much choice. If you have a wizard in your party, then it's better for him to probably go investigation than it is for him to go history, since we now are forced to take 2 in history anyway. As you can see, I could have put points in persuasion, but most of the time you'll probably have a paladin as your face character or someone else, because we're using charisma as our dump stat. We get a -1, so there's no point pumping that up. So we're going to put it there for the 5+, and we'll put in history. So languages, as I said in previous guides as well, in the paladin, ranger, and in the wizard guide, just make sure you're covering all the languages. Don't pick all the same ones. It doesn't really matter that much, but yeah, just pick whatever, you know, is not covered by someone else. So over in the spell tab, we now get to pick our cantrips. We get to pick 3. So I'm just going to go through them really quickly, very simply, and just cut out the fat. So guidance. Increase in allies' ability checks for a limited time. Pretty goddamn good. It works on everything. It works on persuasion checks. It works on pickpocketing, it works on lockpicking, works on disarming traps, it works on everything. You literally can't live without that ability. It's just amazing to have. Really, really good ability, or really good cantrip, shall I say. Then we got light. An object you touch emits a powerful light for a limited time. As I said in previous guides, if you take this on your wizard, then don't take it on the cleric. If you take it on the cleric, then don't take it on the wizard. That kind of thing. Like, make sure someone has it at least. You can probably run 2 of them as well. You can put it on 2 weapons at the same time, but it's completely up to you how you want to do that. Then we've got resistance. Grant an ally a 1-time bonus to saving throws. It's really not worth casting that at all. It's just not really worth it. Sacred Flame. Strike an enemy with radiant damage. So it does fairly good damage. The problem with this is it gets negated quite a lot. I'm literally going to be pumping tons and tons of points into Dex. So I'm going to be using longbows and weapons a lot more than spells. So I probably don't even need to take that as my damage spell or get out damage cantrip. Shine. Shine literally should be called shadow because it lives in the shadow of light. Light is like the big brother to shine, and shine doesn't like it. Shine's like not wanted at all because light's just way better than shine will ever be. Then we've got spare the dying. Touch a dying ally to stabilize them. The thing about this, it doesn't actually bring them up off their feet, but it will stop them from dying out. So this can be very useful to take in the early game when you have a limited amount of healing spells. So you could just use this to get them off of their feet to stop them from just dying out and make you waste a scroll or a resurrection or anything like that. So we've got sparkle over here. Sparkle does not sparkle very bright because light is once again, as I said in my wizard guide, really just outclasses shine and sparkle so much. Shine and sparkle probably just crying in a corner somewhere, whereas light's just having a whale of a time being one of the best cantrips for vision that you can have. Okay, so out of these choices, what I would take is guidance. Definitely always take that one. I'm going to take light as well. As I said, sacred flame. If you're going like a strength cleric or something like that, you'll probably use that more. If you're using a wisdom cleric, you'll probably use it more then. But because I'm going dex, I'm going to be like longbowing it up a lot more, melee attacking with my rapier. So I'm going to take spare the dying. This will make my early game a bit easier. I don't have to worry about someone just completely dying out at me because I ran out of healing spells. I can just use this and just stabilize them so they don't die. So once again, appearance doesn't matter at all in this game. So we're just going to skip past that straight away. Okay, we're now going to start leveling this up. So get one more spell slot, get Channel Divinity, get Turn Undead, Decisive Strike, pretty damn good. Level up again. Then we get more spell slots. And again, so we're now at level 4. We can choose ability score or feat. I'm going to go for ability score. So we're going to bring up dex to 18 now. And on the next ability score we get or feat, we're going to take that up to 20. So now I get to pick another class cantrip. There's really not much choice. I was going to take Sacred Flame because I kind of have to. So I'm going to finish there. So we get the final level, level 5. Increase our saving score, increase our spell saves. And that's it. So I didn't really get a chance to go through all the spells with you during the level up phases. So I'm actually going to take the time now to look through them all and just tell you which are kind of decent, which ones to avoid, and yeah. So in the level 1 spells, we've got Bane. Reduce your enemy's attack and saving throws for a limited time. It's okay, it's just not great. We've got Bless. Increases your allies' saving throws and attack rolls for a limited time. This is insanely amazing, especially early game. It's incredible. 1d4 to attacks and 1d4 to saving throws at the start of the game. Even later on the game is really insane for your lower level characters. Cure wounds, you really want to have this, pick some up from dying. Also does respectable healing as well. You want to use this before you short rest or long rest so you have any more slots left, just to try and heal up a bit before your next battle. Detect evil and good. Detect nearby creatures of evil or good nature. I've never really seen the use in this. Most of the time you're going to see if someone's good or evil. Detect magic. Detect nearby magic objects or creatures. So if you don't have this on your wizard, and if you don't have a wizard, pick this up yourself because you need to cast it, and you can cast it as a ritual so it doesn't take up a spell slot. Guiding Bolt. Launch a radiant attack against an enemy and make them easy to hit. This is actually pretty damn good, but because you have magic missile, because you've taken the battle domain, this is actually better to cast than Guiding Bolt is. Plus, you need to fall back on something. You have the longbow because your dex is goddamn high. It's 18. Well, it's normally 16 if you're not level 5, but still better than firing some of this stuff off. But the magic missile is a no-brainer spell to cast most of the time because it doesn't miss. Another good spell here is the Healing Word. It's a bonus action, so that means you can melee, you can like cast a spell, you can do something else, and then you can cast this afterwards to heal something up. The range is quite respectable in it as well. It's a 12 tile range, which is pretty big. Whereas the Cure Wounds over here is a touch spell. You have to be close to get that one in. Whereas this one you can cast from a reasonable distance away. Inflict Wounds. Deal necrotic damage to an enemy you hit. As you can see, it does a hell of a lot of damage. It's got a dice roll of 3d10, which is up to 30 damage, which does a lot. So it's actually not too bad to take, but I feel like most of the time I'll be casting magic missiles just to make sure I don't miss, but that hits really hard. So Protect versus Evil and Good. This really does help you. It gives disadvantages to most like evil things or good things, whatever you put it on. It really helps out. It's pretty strong to put on the main tank. Shield of Faith increases armor class by 2. It's pretty decent to be fair. You get it for free anyway because it's your domain, and you also got Magic Missile. So all these ones here that I would probably take to memorize, I'll take Bless definitely, Cure Wounds, I'll take Healing Word, Magic Missile and Shield of Faith. You have them anyway all the time, and Inflict Wounds. Detect Magic if you don't have a wizard with that. Protect versus Evil and Good if you want to have more mitigation and protection instead of Inflict Wounds, so switch them over. Okay, level 2 spells. Acid Arrow. I mean, fair amount of damage. It's just the recurrent effect's quite easy to resist by most enemies, so I don't really end up using this that much compared to other options here. aid is really good. You can actually use that to resurrect, or not resurrect should I say, or just pick up someone that's been downed just by using it. So it will pick them up and it will also give them the added hit points. So yeah, it's very strong in combat. It's just you can't do that twice in a row because obviously it gives them increased hit points, and if obviously they've already got the increased hit points and you try and use it again, it's not going to work again for the second time during the same combat unless it's worn out already. Blindness, I covered this I think in my wizard guide. Blind enemy for 1 minute is not too bad. It's pretty decent, gives you advantage. You compare it with the rogue. I just wouldn't take it over some of the other options here. Common motion stops one or more creatures from being charmed or frightened. If you know there's a battle coming up where you might be frightened or something, you can prepare this in time to use. Most of the time I wouldn't have this on my bar though, or ready to cast, because it's very situational. Enhanced ability, grant temporary powers to an ally for up to 1 hour. This is pretty damn good actually. It's very decent because obviously you can pick what stat or what ability score you want to increase, so you can give your face more charisma like the paladin, so you can have better checks on that. You can have more wisdom for spells, you can have more intelligence to hit harder or have more attack roll should I say, and you can also increase your strength with like your fighter. You can increase your, you see where I'm going with this, you can just like increase the attack rolls of your characters and also your persuasion checks and stuff like that. So it's quite good for utility. Find traps. I never take this ever. I just don't see the point in it. Flaming Spear. It's like pretty damn good. Once again, it requires concentration, but the damage is very respectable and you get it quite early as well at like level 3. So it's actually fairly decent to use. Because you get it for free on your domain though, it's like you're going to have it anyway. So if you want to use it, you can use it whenever you want. Hold person. Paralyze a humanoid you can see for a limited time. So this is pretty good. It's also a save a suck spell. You put it on someone, they can't do anything, they can't take any actions, and they're also taking advantage attacks from you. So if you're playing with a rogue or something, or anyone that can do sneak attacks or backstabs, you can always get advantage attacks with this. It's pretty decent. It's just, yeah. Lesser Restoration, I mean, it's situational. It's pretty good though, but it's very situational, so it's okay. Prayer of Healing, it heals multiple allies at the same time. Heals up to 16 on the dice, which is quite respectable. Like couple with aid, it can be quite strong combo, both of those, because you can aid and then Prayer of Healing afterwards, or Prayer of Healing. Depending if everyone's taking damage or not, it really depends on what's happening in the fight. So we've got Silence here, and the Wizard Guide, I said the Silence is very good to use on enemy spellcasters. It's also quite good to use on your own spellcasters as well, which I didn't say in the Wizard Guide, because if your spellcaster gets mind controlled or anything like that, you can place it on them to make sure they don't cast on you as well. So it's quite universal. It just requires concentration, so it's actually quite decent to use. Spiritual Weapon, summon a weapon that fights for you. It has a 12 range on it, tiles should I say. It's a bonus action as well. So because it's a bonus action, it kind of puts the Flaming Spear to shame, because this is a real action. So this actually does quite a lot of damage as well. It lasts for 1 minute and Flaming Spear lasts for 1 minute. I feel like Spiritual Weapon's probably better than Flaming Spear just because it's a bonus action. So that means you can attack it and then cast this afterwards if you wanted to. So on to the level 3 spells. So we've got Beacon of Hope, Raise Hope and Vitality. It's okay, it's fairly decent. It's just, yeah. Bestow Curse, I've already went over this with my Wizard Guide. It's just not that great, and it's also touch range, so you have to be quite close to do that. And yeah, it doesn't really do a lot on the grand scale of things. Crate food, crate 15 units of food. This is pretty good. If you don't want to use rations and stuff, you can just use a cleric, and especially if you don't have a ranger as well, just use a cleric to make food, and that way you can always long rest whenever you want to. So we've got Daylight here. Summon Daylight for you to control. Removes darkness, removes areas of darkness. Fairly decent ability. It just doesn't scale well. Later on, like, it doesn't remove the higher tiers of darkness because you cannot empower this to do that. So yeah, it's okay at the beginning. Dispel magic and active spells on a creature or object. This is pretty decent. If you don't have it on the wizard, probably take it on the cleric at some point. There'll be some fights where you need to dispel buffs or some sort of magic like that. It's very good to take. So onto Fireball. Launch a fireball, explodes from a point you're choosing. Incredible range of it of 30 tiles. Then the radius, as you can see, it's overwhelmingly big. And it also does massive amounts of damage. It's one of the best damaging spells in the game. You get it on a cleric as well, because most of the time you can only get this on a wizard. But yeah, picking it on the cleric because of the domain or the battle domain, because you can just fire this off right at the start of the fight before anyone gets close, or if they're grouped up, and it does insane damage. It's just devastating. Then it's joined by its brother Haste. Make an ally faster and more agile and grant them additional action for a limited time. This is really crazy as well. It doubles your speed, gives you an extra attack, it gives you extra actions. It's just really crazy. Really, really overpowered as well. So these two together, is really good. The Mass Healing Word, instantly heal up to 6 allies you can see. So it targets 6 targets. Its casting time is a bonus action, which is very, very good. It means you can literally attack and still do this afterwards. The range is decent on it as well. It heals a fair amount. Pretty decent skill to take. Then protection from energy, so it gives you protection from acid, cold, fire, lightning, thunder. It's a touch thing as well, so you can put it before the fight starts. If you know what's coming, if you know the boss or whatever you're fighting has loads of electric attacks, you can place this early and mitigate quite a lot of damage. It's a very good skill. Don't sleep on that one. Remove curse. Situational removes or curses affecting the target. It's decent if you use in the right circumstances, obviously, if someone's cursed, but otherwise it's not really worth having equipped all the time. Then we've got resurrect or revivify. We got bring one creature back to life up to 1 minute after death. It costs a diamond component. I mean, it's good to have this kind of thing, just because you probably will have times where your character's outright died and it really sucks and you've got no scrolls to bring them back and you get a game over screen. So it's decent to have this equipped at all times, just in case you need to bring someone back from the brink of death. So yeah, we've got Spirit Guardians, cool for spirits to protect you. I didn't really get a chance to try this out and I haven't seen it before, but I'm assuming it does pretty good damage on paper as of what I can see. And it also says protected by spirits, characters currently protected by Spirit Guardians, which I assume means every time you take damage, I'll probably take the damage for you, or at least mitigate some of the damage for you in general. Then we've got Tongues. If you haven't taken this on the Wizard, Tongues is decent to have because it gives you all the knowledge of all languages for an hour. An hour is a very, very long time. So for the NPCs and just for persuasion checks, or just get some more lore at the story, just be able to communicate with someone you wouldn't normally be able to communicate with, this is very decent to take. Right, so that's it for my beginner class guide for Cleric. If you have any suggestions or what you want me to do next, or you need a class that you want to see or anything like that, I'll be happy to help out. Anyway, like, subscribe, and I'll catch you in the next one. Take care.